professional record with a 100% finish record. 8 wins by KO, 2 by submission, and a winning effort he has never been to the judges. Currently riding a 2-fight win streak. Last competed in October of 2019 in his native Afghanistan. He has 8 first round stoppages, 2 by way of submission, 6 by way of KO. He is the owner of a 2018 viral knockout when he knocked out Sasha Sharma with a beautiful flying knee in Mumbai and 7 seconds into the 3rd round. That's the kind of power that بدخشی possesses. An incredible striker who throws difficult, awkward looping shots. But it'll be difficult to get those looping shots off when you're fighting someone like Ahmed Magomedov. We know his game plan is to use his strikes to get it to the ground. What kind of game plan does بدخشی need to implement to avoid that takedown from Magomedov?
Phil, what he needs to employ is probably the single most underappreciated aspect of this game, and that is distance management. He has to manage the distance between his opponent and not allow his opponent to wrap his arms around him or even be within reach. He's a taller fighter, but once he's within reach of the shorter fighter, their heights are identical. He does not want that. He's offering prayers to God, and he has entered the Brave Combat Federation cage wearing black and red Green Hill Loops Fit Fight shorts.
Out of the red corner, fighting out of KHK MMA Dagestan in Russia. Please welcome Ahmed Magomedov.
The KHK Dagestan man Ahmed Magomedov making his way to the Brave Arena, bringing with him a 6-0-1 no contest, undefeated professional record, currently 2-0-1 no contest inside the Brave Arena. Of those 6 wins, 4 have come by submission, 2 by way of decision. Looking at that 4 submissions, he really uses his wrestling and his sambo beautifully to get into those positions. The wrestling then informs the submission work. A very, very competent, top-heavy wrestling stylist here.
So this is the first bout on our pro portion of the card, but this man we are looking at, who's about to enter the Combat Federation cage, is awesome. This is a potential future world champion. When I say future, I don't mean 10 years. I mean 18 months. This is an absolutely tremendous world-class fighter we're about to see.
A metric of just how good his wrestling is illustrated by the fact that he shut down Gabriel Fly Miranda at Brave 21 in Saudi Arabia, using wrestling, positional control, and dominance to negate the BJJ black belt level jiu-jitsu of Gabriel Fly Miranda. If this man puts you on your back, you should probably get comfortable because you're going to spend quite a lot of time there.
Bill, he's also got an extremely well-rounded skill set. He's not just a wrestler by any means. He will also knock you out.
All right, Brave Nation, this next battle is 3 5-minute rounds in a catch weight of 77 kilograms. Introducing your first warrior, fighting out of the blue corner. This man is a mixed martial artist with a professional record of 10 wins and 2 losses. He stands 174 centimeters tall and weighs already 73.8 kilograms. Fighting out of Cabo
versus 25 respectively. Height advantage goes to بدخشی. Wrestling advantage goes to Magomedov. Let's get things kicking off. Wide stance being implemented by Bedkhshi, almost as if he knows that the takedown is coming from Magomedov.
Excellent linear skills and circular skills so far from Bedkhshi. He's got to keep that up, but I'd like to see him be a little less distinct with it. Woo! Spin kick attempt.
Bedkhshi does have an exciting, dynamic repertoire of strikes. Let's see if he can call upon those. I think in a situation like this, it's intelligent to work off the hands to begin with. There's that tuck under, big takedown from the Dagestan man. And this is exactly where he wants the fight to take place. And this is really where he does some of his most profound work here. Just sitting inside the guard. As I say, happy to sit inside the guard, happy to sit inside the anchor position of the half guard and go to town from there. Transition seamlessly into the half guard, working to get side control. Nice work from Bedkhshi.
From Bedkhshi, indeed. He's got a tight overhook on one side. He's obviously hooking that arm, and he's going to be trying to set up elbows to the head, potentially with the intent of causing cuts.
And essentially, what does Bedkhshi need to do in a situation like this to get the hip-heavy dominant wrestler away from him, Kieran?
He's actually doing a really good job. He needs to control the wrestler's head so the wrestler cannot posture back and get the leverage and distance and momentum he needs to throw a knockout shot. Excellent job by our man from Afghanistan on bottom thus far.
That's a nice little bit of head control from Ahmed Magomedov. Obviously, headbutts are illegal in mixed martial arts, but you can use it as almost a lever to control your opponent because where the head goes, the body inevitably follows.
I think, Phil, he's also keeping that head in tight to prevent those downward elbows from the bottom. If you keep your head tight to your opponent, the elbow no longer works. It no longer hits with that sharp point of the elbow. Instead, hits with the lower tricep. Big shot from top.
Big shot, but actually trying to get back to his feet. And beautiful. He has the wrist, and Magomedov sees the wrist, just pops that down. But actually holding on to the cage. Referee David Logan with a stern, authoritative warning. And there we may see him just grab that wrist again, but actually trying to use that wrist to get the base. Lovely little trick, and it shows just that there are levels to wrestling and mixed martial arts, and inevitably, if you're from Dagestan, you train at a club called KHK MMA Dagestan, you know what you're doing when it comes to wrestling.
Interesting little exchange there. The Afghan Lion almost made it up to standing, went for a victory roll, a rolling knee lock. It was denied. They're right back where they began.
Halfway point of the opening round. And Ahmed Magomedov is very much having it all his way. Extensive wrestling background, extensive sambo background, a former silver medalist in both the European and World Combat Sambo Games. For those who may not know, sambo is essentially mixed martial arts in a gi and headgear.
Also want to say, Phil, we're seeing very impressive fighters coming out of Afghanistan. There's a widespread belief that the top fighters in MMA all come from your Brazils, from your USAs, from your Russias. But just 2 weeks ago at Comeback Kingdom 4, we saw Rahmatullah Yousafzai come out against a formerly undefeated IMF champ, make his pro debut and knocked him out in seconds. Just wanted to throw that out there. I am impressed by the Afghan Lion so far, although he is not ahead.
Second grab of the fence there from Bedkhshi. Referee taking a look in. Should it happen a third time? Could potentially give a stern warning or take a point. And a lot of the time the cage grab isn't necessarily done with intent to cheat. It's more done out of desperation, Kieran, just because you feel it's your only option.
Abdul'Azim wants to get back up to stand. He's doing everything he can, everything within his power to get there. Thus far, he has been denied.
He's trying to get that arm up to post again. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Ahmed Magomedov just scoop that wrist out.
He's up.
Actually did a great job to get back to his feet. But Ahmed Magomedov,
Underhook now. He may be able to stay in his feet. And down again.
And that must just be so frustrating for Bedkhshi to expel all that energy to work to get to his feet, just for Magomedov to take it down again.
It's extremely high-level fight for Magomedov. He's not going after any one single thing. He's got a general strategy of trying to get his opponent down the ground, stay on top, doesn't particularly care how he gets there, takes it down how it's presented to him, and then he goes to work with a short sharp shots in the elbows.
What I like so much about Magomedov is he doesn't do anything that's unnecessary. He doesn't take any flagrant risks that could put him in potentially a dangerous position. He works from point A to point B to point C. It's methodical, it's measured, it's calculated. Just again finishing off in that anchor position, and if I'm Badakshi right now, I'm getting up and I'm tired. After expelling all that energy, I think it was working to his feet 3 times just to be taken down again by Magomedov. And I think that might have even been within the game plan of Magomedov. Let him work a little bit, let him expel the energy, and just pop him right back off his feet.
I think that's exactly it, Phil. Magomedov, if he was desperate to keep the fighter down on the ground, could have put a lot more energy into it. I think he was allowing the game to move up and down to a certain extent so he could keep his energy and start sucking his opponents away. Gotta say though, they both look a little bit, they both look like they just fought for 5 minutes, let's put it that way.
I think potentially what you could even see in the second round is Ahmed Magomedov opening up with the hands a little bit, because Badakshi now will be so acutely aware of the takedown threat, which could leave him vulnerable to the striking game of Ahmed Magomedov.
My sense, Phil, yes, is that Magomedov held back just a little bit in round 1, and he's gonna let it go now.
Eldar Eldarov giving final instructions to Ahmed Magomedov. Deggy Larkin clears the cage in the most eloquent way that only he can. The bandit takes no prisoners whatsoever. Second round, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Combat Kingdom opening pro bout.
Intensity's about to increase, and there it was. Flying knee from the Afghan Lion.
And does a good job to defend, but as a Dagestani often does, gets the fight against the cage, leaves his opponent no space with which to go backwards, and works for the takedown from here. Has the underhook on both sides, may look to just bounce off, and there's a beautiful trip takedown. Sorry, I did say he had the underhook on both sides, it was just one side, but that just shows the clasp and grip of Magomedov.
Abdul'Azim landed a couple of effective elbows from bottom, now getting smothered a bit.
Covering the face of Badakshi, a little bit of a veteran move there. Not necessarily courteous, but entirely legal, landing beautiful little punch shot elbow there. Clamps down on the wizard. Like I say, it's just a methodical, calculated approach from Ahmed Magomedov. Bringing Badakshi against the cage to try and compress the body further, and again just rolls the wrist, lands the takedown. May give Badakshi just enough space with which to try and work up a little bit, expel that energy, and then just pop it right back down to his feet. Magomedov again just solidifying that position of control by elevating the hips of Badakshi, meaning that he can't really get any purchase with which to move.
Ladies and gentlemen of Brave Nation, if Ahmed postured back and threw a large number of shots, it would give his opponent the ability to scoot up almost immediately. So he's biding his time. He's playing a very careful, very intelligent game. Lots of top pressure and just the occasional shot momentarily before he reapplies that iron-like pressure.
May just pop the leg down of his opponent and step over into the half guard. And you can see he just elevates the leg as well, thus elevating the hips above the head. Gives Badakshi enough space just to work up, and another takedown does feel inevitable from this point, Kirik. Nice little short elbows into the thighs.
Badakshi has the hips turned as he should. He's got a tight whizzer, but he needs one more control point, or that's exactly what's going to happen.
Ahmed Magomedov stepping through just casually into the half guard.
Badakshi has shown good skills regarding previously. He's got his hips free on the far side. We're probably going to see him regard as we did right there.
And again, with that head control, just pins it underneath the chin of Badakshi. Badakshi trying desperately to push the hip down or push the leg down of Ahmed Magomedov to continue to work to regard.
Phil, I'd like to see that muffler attempt from top by Ahmed Magomedov. He covered the mouth with a hand, and when his opponent tried to push it away, he switched into an elbow. Very slick technique. It did work for him. I'd like to see it again.
And you can see Ahmed Magomedov turning up the intensity ever so slightly. He's elevating his body just a little bit now to get some more purchase and power into that ground and pound that he's landing, as opposed to being all the way down. Working some nice body-head combinations here. And it all adds up. It's almost Tito Ortiz-like of old, just sit inside the guard, have half that can opener with the hands, and just use that to land big strikes, big ground and pound.
Bedkhshi is using his guard properly. One of the central purposes of guard is to control how far away or how close your opponent is. Bedkhshi is effectively doing that. He's pushing his opponent back and pulling him in. He's not always successful. At moments when he's able to create a little bit of space, he is landing some downward elbows, and right there, you saw him actually pull his opponent in close so that that shot from top was not effective.
Nice work from Magomedov. He elevates gets up from the knee to the legs, just to try and get a little bit more on those shots. And as we say, it's methodical, it's calculated, it's essentially Dagestani MMA in a nutshell. Referee Dege Larkin calling for a little bit more work. And again, Bedkhshi trying everything he can to get back to the feet. Magomedov just has that arm around the back, clasped to the hip of Bedkhshi, keeping him nice and close. And this is going to be an incredibly frustrating fight for Bedkhshi.
For those of you wondering why Magomedov doesn't posture back a little more and land bigger shots, we saw an example of it there. He postured back an inch and a half too far. His opponent got a foot there, almost kicked him back, and was allowed to pop back up to standing. And Kirik, I guess the question has to be asked in the closing stanzas of that round.
Could you make the argument for, given the current scoring criteria, could you make the argument for a 10-8 round there?
Phil, it's a great question. I don't think that round quite reached even the new standard for a 10-8, which is much more generous than it used to be. It was a dominating round for the Russian, but we did not see a very great deal of damage in that round. There was a lot of positional control, but that too is no longer given paid attention as much as it was in the past. I call this one 10-9 again, pushing this round to 20-18 for Ahmed Magomedov.
And there you see just the wrestling prowess from the KHK Dagestan man. Gets the takedown, establishes position, and it very much seems that when he gets the takedown, he keeps that takedown, and he's not allowing Bedkhshi to mount any kind of offense whatsoever. If you're Bedkhshi, what do? Do you go for broke?
You go for broke, Phil. Bedkhshi is a very intelligent professional fighter. He knows he's down 2 rounds. He knows he's only got 1 more. He's not going to be able to win this fight via a decision, so he's going to go for a knockout.
And if you're in the corner of Ahmed Magomedov, are you just saying more of the same?
Rinse, repeat.
Third and final round of what's proving to be a dominant performance for Ahmed Magomedov. And right now he does look like much the fresher. Threatening, but actually did there, just fainting with the uppercut. Bang over.
There was.
And that's the thing, when you commit to those heavy strikes, you do leave yourself vulnerable to the takedown. And that's what we've just seen. Elbows from the bottom from Bedkhshi. He's doing everything he can to try and get out of this position because he knows he cannot stay here for the remaining 4 minutes, 30 seconds of the third and final round.
Phil, we can hear those elbows land from here, even through our headset. Some of those elbows that the Afghan Lion has thrown are landing hard. Bonk, bonk, bonk. Sounds like a hard drum.
Ladies and gentlemen, that might be the first time you have heard the words bonk, bonk, bonk used in a mixed martial arts bout. You can say I was there, you can say I heard it. Ladies and gentlemen, the OG of mixed martial arts, Mr. Kirik Janess.
Bonk, bonk, baby.
Eldar Eldarov in the corner. Not a lot of work for Eldar to do in this fight, just let Ahmed Magomedov do his thing. Again, beautiful wrist control, which is a real hallmark of Dagestani fighters. Establish that wrist control. Sitting inside the guard now, may try and transition into the half guard, but Ahmed Magomedov will do it very much at his own pace. Elevating the legs of his opponent. And again, just takes that wrist away, thus taking away one of the bases Bedkhshi would use to try and scramble back to his feet. And right now you're just going to see Ahmed Magomedov perhaps take Bedkhshi off the cage a little bit. A little bit of a shoulder bump there, right to the jaw.
Phil, we do want to see Magomedov do more than simply maintain that top position. We want to see him either try and further position, go for a submission, or land shots. We know he can get his opponent on the ground, but this is mixed martial arts, not wrestling. He's got to do a little bit more with it than those little shots we saw right there.
And this is telling from Bedkhshi. He's flat backing right now. Both shoulders are on the mat. He's taking a deep breath, and he really is cutting a little bit of a forlorn figure right now, Kirik.
He is, but Phil, he's also collecting himself. He knows he's got a limited amount of energy, he's got a limited amount of time, he's trying to gather what energy he's got left, and he's going to try and explode back up to standing. If he succeeds in getting up to standing, we're going to see one more huge flurry KO attempt from him.
So the question really has to be asked, well, I suppose it's two questions really, Kirik. Does he have enough in the tank to get back to the feet? And should he do that, does he have enough to land that one quitter hitter home run shot?
It's the shot he's got, and I think he's going to take it, but he does have Ahmed Magomedov on top of him, who is an incredibly dominant force.
Ahmed Magomedov showing his MMA intelligence by doing just enough to keep busy, to look aesthetically like he's working, so Deggy Larkin does not stand him up. Just rolls the wrist out here, landing those little pot shot hammer fists, almost mini hammer fists if you will. Bonk, 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 as my broadcast partner would say. As we say, just landing those little shots. And a minute 30 to go. If you're Bedkhshi, you really just have to go for broke now, don't you? You have to use every little ounce of energy that you have, explode as much as you can, but given what he's had to endure in rounds 1 and 2 and the first stanza of round 3, does he have enough in the tank?
I think right now he may not, Phil. When you see a fighter flat on his back, he's not in half guard, he's in half mount. He's mounted right now. In order to make guard effective, you've got to be on your side, and you really have to have an underhook. Right now, flat on his back, he's not in full mount where his opponent can rain down without stopping, but he's not that far off there either.
Bedkhshi keeps leaving an arm up there as if it's almost telegraphing the head-on triangle. If Ahmed Magomedov becomes aware of that and can finish off, he would add to his already impressive 4 submissions in 6 victories, but right now he seems to be happy just to ride the crest of this wave. And with 30 seconds to go, as we've said, no unnecessary risks need to be taken by the KHK Dagestan man.
In Magomedov's defense, he is fighting very intelligently. Took some hard shots from bottom, so he's keeping his head so close to his opponent's head that those elbows are no longer effective. That, of course, means he no longer has the leverage to throw very, very powerful shots from on top, but he doesn't have to. We've got 10 seconds left.
Ahmed Magomedov on way to his 7th win as a professional mixed martial artist. Very much for our money, remains unbeaten. Dispatches of the very dangerous striker in the Afghan Lion, who quite simply did not have an answer to the dominant offensive wrestling of Ahmed Magomedov.
Little look at the Green Hill replay. This was basically the story of this fight. The Afghan Lion would attempt to throw a significant shot from standing and would get taken down for his trouble, would try to come up to standing, but was never fully able to do so in the entire 15-minute contest. Phil, I do believe this one's going to be 30-27. Do you have any alternative thoughts on that?
Pretty much echo what you said. I think there may be a little scope there for maybe a 30-26 to go into the mix, just because of the stock that is put into wrestling for mixed martial arts. And at no stage of that fight did Ahmed Magomedov ever look like he was in any kind of trouble, Kirik.
And Phil, I want to give some big props to the Afghan Lion. He was not able to win tonight, but to my eye, he looked good. He looked like a really, really good professional fighter. Wide range of skills, standing, excellent guard. However, he had Ahmed Magomedov from KHK Dagestan on top of him, and it wasn't enough.
Carlos Kramer's in the cage, which means we're going to make this official. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Carlos Kramer.
All right, Brave Nation, another incredible battle inside the Brave CF 45 cage. This one goes all 3 the judges score 30-27. Each judge for a unanimous decision victory. From KHK MMA Dagestan, Russia, Ahmed Magomedov.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was pretty much a formality reading out those scores. Dominant victory for Ahmed Magomedov, who at only 24 years old is now 7-0, won no contest in his professional career. What can this young man do next? The world is very much his oyster.
Brave Nation, while we're preparing the COVID-19 mandated